The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. Hello, everybody. I'm your host Seema Chhoriya, and I welcome you all to a brand new episode of Great Principles. Joining me in conversation is my steadfast educator of the day from overseas, Ms. Jaya Bhavnani, Executive Director of Dwight Global Online School, New York, USA. Welcome to Great Principles, ma'am. We are very honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you so much for having me over here. It's a real pleasure to be chatting with you and having this conversation. I look forward to our conversations.
Same here, ma'am. And whatever research I've done from you, and I'm sure my viewers would be left in an awe today with a lot of insights to take from this conversation of ours. So, as I was talking about, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are sweet. So, educators are like, the roots of the tree who nurture the branches and leaves, which are the staffs and the colleagues, and the fruit and flowering are the students and mentees. So, this is the entire system of education wherein the entire tree, all the people involved work together to get this beautiful fruit come up. So, we would like to know from you how you entered, how you happen to be the part of this wonderful tree of shaping lives, and today you are already heading so many organizations. So once upon a time your family situation led you to become a teacher, and that was a destiny's part, and today you are a very respected educator, renowned globally. So could you please tell us why you chose to become an educator and what keeps you intact here?
That is a lot to share, Seema. That is a lot to share because I'll have to go back years and years ago. I was born in Bombay, which is now Mumbai. And when I was a child, my dream was to become a scientist. I loved math, I loved science, Newton, Einstein. That is all I wanted to be, a scientist like them. Uh, and then I graduated. I went to Bombay University. I did my bachelor's in science, my master's in mathematics. And after that, due to family reasons, I had to find some work. And there was a teaching position, fortunately, available in the school where I had done my high school. So the first time I entered the ninth grade class and I started teaching science, that's it. I just knew this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be. There has been no looking back. Then I went on, I pursued my degree in bachelor's in education, and I just followed in the path of education. My husband was an engineer and he was relocated to different countries. So I first went with him to Oman, Muscat, where I taught in the Indian curriculum. And then we came here to Dubai, where I was in the British curriculum. Then I followed him to Chile, Santiago. That was the first time I was introduced to the IB, or the International Baccalaureate Curriculum. I became a big fan of the IB. Fast forward, when I joined the Dwight School in New York, we realized that we had a group of students that were pre-professional athletes or performers, and they were missing some classes. So we decided to offer them those classes that they were regularly missing online. And what started as few classes then has now become an entire school, Dwight Global Online School. Uh, I also work very actively with the International Baccalaureate in different roles, and I serve as an on the evaluation team with the Council of International Schools. Um, I'm very, very grateful for all the experiences that I've had uh, with, I think, more than 4 decades in education. I have never looked back, and I think I will still continue to be over here.
Wow. So, educated in a different curriculum and getting exposed to various different kind of countries and how the things are taught there. And you already mentioned that you became the fan of International Baccalaureate. So tell me one thing, ma'am, if there is something that can be adopted, can be universally adopted from this wonderful curriculum, what would be that and how it would benefit our students all around?
That's a very good point, because the one thing that attracted me to International Baccalaureate was the holistic all round development of the child. Generally, in some curriculums, I have seen subjects like arts and physical education are not given that same value. There is like the math and the sciences on the top, and some of these other subjects are here. But in the International Baccalaureate, every subject is looked at equally. And besides the subject, there is a lot of focus on well being and, most importantly, on building skills. Skills is something that our children really need to develop in, particularly in today's world. So that is what really got me. And another very important aspect is the ability uh, to do community service, to give back to the community. Because we are only thinking of what I can get, but sometimes it is also nice to give.
Absolutely. And I think that is the quality which will keep the humane part of us alive. And this is what is required. We have seen past 2 years what happened. We very much needed support of each other and, where humanity was at peak. And we all learned that without each other's supports, we cannot survive. And we need to look at the bigger picture. So, having said that, ma'am, yes, definitely International Baccalaureate is a wonderful program, but it is the one which is quite expensive. Also, not every category of parent can afford that. So, having said that, how would you guide our parents to, in whatever capacity they can, to ensure that their child is holistically developed?
Uh, yes, you're very right. But again, I would like to correct you that it is not necessary that all schools that offer international baccalaureate are expensive. So, for example, in the United States, a lot of public schools are IB schools. I know it will take a while for that to happen in India, but currently there are a lot of countries where it is not, you don't have to pay very high fees to be in an IB school. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that even, you don't have to be an IB school, but if a school can at least take in the good from another curriculum. So, for example, like I said, a lot of emphasis on skill building, a lot of emphasis on changing our traditional approach to teaching, where the teacher is talking a lot, rather have the teacher more as a listener and try to have that curiosity in the class. Like, how can we have these discussions where children can share different viewpoints? Because in that way, they will learn to respect diversity. They will know that if he's right, I'm not wrong, and if I'm right, he's not wrong. There are always two sides to a coin. So we really want them to respect diversity. We want them to be empathetic. We want them to understand somebody else's traditions and culture, but at the same time, a lot of emphasis on mother tongue. Like, never ever forget your own roots, Be very, very proud of your own identity. So, for example, I may have traveled to different countries and worked in different places, but even now, I get so excited even if I meet a taxi driver or somebody, a colleague or anyone in school who can speak Hindi, I jump at it.
Absolutely. So I think that is the biggest takeaway from ma'am's answer, that always be proud of your identity and stick to it. And that is what keeps you going, because that is how you've been grown up. And yes, it is good to adopt what is good at, but always stick to your roots. And we also learn that what matters is taking the best of everything and ensuring that what in whatever capacity you can deliver, do that. So as ma'am mentioned that she wanted to be a scientist, and scientists also are known for discovering what is hidden, and so is ma'am. She believes that every child should grow to their best of the abilities. So tell me, ma'am, how can we apply the theory of treating child's uniqueness in your learning strategies?
So I think the first thing is, what is important is, very often what happens at the start of the academic year, teachers are very stressed about content and syllabus, and I have to cover this and I have to complete this content. I think it is a good investment to spend some time at the start of the academic year in creating that relationship, that connection with your children. Because once you have had those connections, then you, in a way, you have broken that barrier, You understand what is the talent, what is the passion, what is the interest of your children, so that no matter what subject you're teaching, at some point, you can sort of modify your assessments or your tasks or your worksheets or the work that you're doing in the class so that it is more project based and give them that ability. So for example, if I know I have this group of children that are very fond of technology, then allow them to respond using different platforms, digital platforms. I know these are children who are very good with art, then allow them to make a poster. You can do the same thing, whatever you want to do. If you want to raise awareness of saving water, you can do it in different ways today. So give them that flexibility of using their own talents, their own interest in the way they respond. A child likes to write, well, they can write, you know. The second thing is make sure that whatever we are teaching, the biggest problem is that children always wonder, why am I learning this? How is this going to connect with me? So make sure that you are always informing the children what is the connection of what they're learning with real life, right? And I think the most important thing, which is logistically very difficult for schools, but ideally that would be good, is sometimes we confine the time at which children study. And sometimes a child may not be able to do math in the afternoon. Maybe morning time is good for math, of course, but this is a little difficult logistically. But every child has his own learning experiences, his own learning styles, his own the time, and the place. Some children like to study alone. Some children like to work with one partner. Some like to do well in a group. So it's just like taking care of each child's uniqueness and allowing them to work at their pace or their way or their style. If not all the time, at least give them those experiences sometimes whenever you can, you know.
So identifying the learning pattern of the child is something which is required, and then trying to, give in whatever manner we can, in whatever possibility. Because yes, having so many children in the classroom, it's not
Yes.
actually very, very easy, or I may say it's not practically very much possible to, just entertain everyone needs. But yes, as you mentioned, sometimes we can take care of that. Maybe, few children don't like to be confined in four walls. They love to experiment and then learn. So, the learning can happen even outside. So this is how ma'am also mentioned few lovely examples that how you can take care of needs of the children and ensure that, draw a poster, learn through that, create awareness. So that was a wonderful take from your answer, ma'am. Moving ahead to my next question. Your career chart, 4 decades, it's actually phenomenal, and you are being recognized for your efforts in building a school, of a brand, of a repute, and there is so much more to your journey, and I'm sure there is lot of appreciation and accolades that you might have received. So I would like to know from you, which prestigious award has brought you contentment and recognition?
So, Seema, all of us human beings, we all like to be appreciated, right? And it has been very humbling, I would say, particularly in the past 3 years, to get an award for every consecutive year. In 2019, I was honored with the Outstanding Contribution in Education GUESS Award. What GUESS stands for is Global Educational Supplies and Solutions. Uh, then in 2020, I was awarded the top 100 leaders in education, and this was by a forum called the Global Forum for Education and Learning. And just last year, in 2021, a team member from Dwight Global nominated me, and then I was announced as the winner for the EdTech Leadership Award. Yes, having received these awards, I must say one thing, that I cannot take credit for any of these alone. The recognition and the appreciation all needs to go to our amazing team. I work with a real uh, team of passionate educators. They are so committed, so dedicated, and they are always supporting and inspiring our children to go above and beyond their potential. So I give all the credit to teamwork. There is nothing that I would be able to. I don't think I deserve these awards all by myself at all.
Certainly. So, yes, as I mentioned, that it's the entire tree which takes to bear the fruits. So, similarly, ma'am said that it's my entire team. And, that is the leader, a humble leader truly, who always give credit to the team for whatever success that is comes to their way. Because, yes, that how it is. We, especially those educational institution, they are the organizations of people, those who are dealing with people, and ultimately the result is also seen on the people. So, a very much people centric organization is an educational institution wherein we all need to work as a team. So, again, ma'am has shared an important takeaway for us that, focus on your building the team and ensuring that your team keeps growing and together you grow too. So now, ma'am, coming up to my next question. So as I mentioned that you have, your career graph is very long of 40 years. I would like to know from you. And yes, talking about the pandemic, the few years we have seen that what exactly should be the right educational needs going forward. Now we are globally connected. Now we are no more restricted. There are so many options available in front of children that they can just, avail these best of the education sitting at their home. So I would like to know from you, what are the immediate changes you think are to be needed in school curriculum so that the child can take advantage of this globally connected economy?
I think, as you rightly said, Seema, the pandemic has taught all of us, not only children, but it has taught all of us, even adults, the importance of resilience and grit. I mean, we all were, we were all, many of us were new to technology, but in the end, there was, I think, no school that was not online at some point or the other all over the world. So we all need to have that grit and that resilience in us. There were days when all of us were confined in our homes, all of us could not go out. So the challenges that we have seen, I cannot even imagine. They are so new and so different from the challenges that our children will see in the future. And we are not even 100% sure what are the skills that they will need for the jobs in the future. But looking at some elite organizations like Google, etc., the one thing that we have learned is today children need more good skills at communicating. They need problem solving skills. They need how to work in a team. They need how to think out of the box. They need how to apply what they know to real world problems. How am I going to solve a problem? And the best way to do it is, today the United Nations has these sustainable development goals. And they are so easy to be embedded in any curriculum at some point or the other. Even if not the SDGs, today we are socially connected, all educators. And it was amazing to see the resources that were shared by teachers all over the world during the pandemic. And networking has become so easy with social media. So it's so, there are so many resources out there that we could use and use these in our classes without putting an effort in trying to reinvent the wheel and creating something new. So it's easy to get these resources and then have a class setting which helps the children, which motivates the children to build all those skills that are needed, like I was sharing, which they will need in the new, in the future. Another important, besides emphasis on building skills, another important thing is more than any other time, today we need children to be tolerant, we need them to be compassionate, we need them to be empathetic. So, how do we foster these values of empathy, of compassion? There are different ways, like I was sharing before, having that climate in the classroom where nobody is afraid to speak. And at the same time, I know that if I make a mistake, nobody's going to laugh at me. Or if I share, this is what I do in my house or in my culture, nobody is going to make fun of me. So having that ability to creating that safe space where each one can respect diversity, and then at the same time they can accept that the other person is not like me, but it's okay to be different. We don't have to be the same, but the least we can do is accept and respect each other and to be tolerant. I think these are very important values that we need to foster in our classrooms and schools today.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you, ma'am. problem solving, creativity, thinking out of the box. These are the things which are required today for our children. And this is how we need to ensure that our curriculum is designed so that the child's these natural ability of being curious is enhanced more, and he is able to, comprehend better what is coming in his way. So, ma'am, I was just hearing, and there is one thought in my mind which is always there, that when we agree that children learn at different pace, they have different skills, some are good in something. What about evaluation? I mean, we evaluate them on the same time, in the same hour, given in the same questions. So, what are your take on this? What should be the right evaluation pattern so that a child is always encouraged to be evaluated?
So again, I would go back to the International Baccalaureate. And the one thing that attracted me and made me a real fan was also assessment and evaluation. So generally, in a traditional approach, when I was teaching earlier, say for example, even in India, I used to give percentage marks, right, to the children. So 45%, 75%. I myself used to receive percentages at school. So actually, if we think about it, what is how much does a child who gets 84%, how much is he or she smarter than 83%? Who is to decide that? You, me, who? The teacher? Who is to decide that? But at the same time, parents are so obsessed, like, you got only 95%, you got only 96%. It is super stressful, very stressful for the child. And sometimes I think parents put that pressure because they are stressed themselves, because they want admission in good colleges, good universities, etc. Whereas in the International Baccalaureate, and any curriculum can opt for this method, is to rather have a rubric. Rather, you grade with a rubric where you say, for example, in the IB, we have, if you're doing extremely well, if you have explained, justified, clarified, then you can get the highest level band, which is a 7 or an 8. So you can either get a 7 or an 8. But if something is missing, if you've not written in so much details, then you get a 5 or a 6. And if it's really very little, if you've just written very little, then you get a 3 or a 4. And if you have only written, shared the outline or bullet points, then you get a 1 or a 2. This is just one example I'm giving you of an analysis question. But if you have a rubric like this, then exactly the child knows that if I want a 7 or an 8, then I need to do this. I need to do this. But if I don't do this, if I only do the outline before he or she takes the test, they know, then I'll only get a 1 or a 2, you know. So if I know what I need to do to achieve and to succeed, then I will do it. And I also know if I don't do it, then I won't succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that, I think, using that rubrics as a basic requirement for all evaluation and assessments is a much better format, rather than saying, you're a A or a A plus, and you're a 94 or you're a 83. I mean, that really does not have any meaning, to be honest.
Certainly. Yeah, and that obsession now, that should go off, immediately, because it has side effects not only on parents, even on the children. They are so disturbed that, they just go to rote learning methods and just want to achieve the marks. Rather, they don't understand the concepts and they suffer throughout their life. And we are already seeing what kind of, the employers, the qualities the employers are seeking. And then they don't perform well at the job market also. And this is how the things are happening. Children are jobless even after securing such good marks. So that should be the prime focus. And I really love the point where you mentioned that simply follow the rubrics pattern. That is the answer to all the problems that we are talking about here. So I hope that this is to be taken in the good spirit, and soon all the schools adopt some kind of different evaluation pattern, whatever fits in their curriculum, and
Yeah.
ensure that the children are always motivated to perform better and better, rather than being just running behind the rat race. So
And
now,
I
yeah.
would just like to add one more thing based on the evaluation, that why does every evaluation have to be a test or an exam? It could be a lab experiment, it could be an investigation, it could be research, it could be it could be a project, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a video, it could be a podcast, it could be anything. Why does it always have to be a test or an exam? It doesn't.
Certainly, and you have given a food for thought for many today that, what you're doing. A child could be a very good speaker. He can't write. He can, he cannot just express in writing, but he can, thoughts flow when he's speaking. So evaluate him in that manner, and someone is very expressive in its art form. They can just showcase their things in the sketch and they can paint it well. So why not evaluate them in that manner? So that is certainly something, very, very important to be thought of given the scenario today that we are facing. And children are so talented, all are gifted with different abilities, each child, and some of them actually have this that inborn genetic qualities of being good at certain kind of skill. So why not emphasize more on honing that skill rather than just going with the rote methods. So lovely takes we took from ma'am's answer. And so now we have reached to the very interesting segment of the show. This is called rapid fire round. So ma'am, you have to answer me in one word or a sentence would do. Okay.
One word or sentence.
One sentence, yeah.
Mhm.
A skill that you picked up in lockdown.
Gardening.
Gardening. All
Gardening.
right.
I knew nothing about gardening, and the number of YouTube videos I saw.
Certainly, pandemic did give us time to understand things which we never knew. So that was the a good part of it also. Moving ahead to my next question. How do you spend your recreational time?
I enjoy listening to music. I like to spend time with family and friends, and I'm also a huge Bollywood fan.
Mhm.
So no matter where I've been in the world, I just like to watch a good Bollywood movie.
Which is the last movie that you watched?
That would be a little hard to remember. It has been quite some time since I've watched. But I can share a movie that I remember to date and which I shared with my students in New York and Chile, and that was Lagan. I really, really like that movie a lot.
Certainly. Wonderful movie by Amir Khan over there.
Mhm.
It's coming up to my next question. The educationist you look upon for your inspiration, advice, and support, who is that person?
So, do I have to name only one?
You can name two, three also. That depends, I mean.
So, surprisingly, the first person who's my role model and who taught me in a different way, that was my maternal grandmother. Yeah. She was not very educated, but I learned so much from her. I have learned a lot from her in life. So she is my role model number one. Uh, I really respect and I read a lot and I follow Ratan Tata. I recently read a book about him, which I really enjoyed a lot. So he's another person that I follow. Uh, I find him extremely humble despite where he is today in the world, you know. And then I'm also uh, I really appreciate the support and the guidance from our leader. So we have a chancellor Spawn. He's the chancellor of all our Dwight schools, and in fact he is a real visionary. And the concept of starting this online school, it came as his idea. So what he said, in I mean, these are his words, that if students can't come to school, why can't we take the school to the students? Do we really have to limit learning to four walls? Like, can learning not go beyond the four walls? So I found that a real motivation to start the online school.
Certainly, with technology, this is possible that education can be given in every corner of the world to everyone who needs that, and we need to ensure that we are making that available for each and every person. And if this happens in full swing, then I'm sure that, there'll not be any person who will say that I didn't have access to education, especially especially in India, when we have so many villages, then they are concerned about the safety, especially of girls, and they don't want them to commute to long distances. This is a blessing for them, for these beautiful girls who are getting educated. So certainly a wonderful thought and truly a visionary man over there who has made this happen. Be whatever come tomorrow, but yes, online education is going to stay because it is certainly has lot of advantages. Moving ahead to my next question. how important it is to have your social profile built up today. What are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. Today, it is really important to have your profile on social media. One may not have the time to be on all the social media platforms, but at least somewhere you should be able to network, you should be able to collaborate, you should be able to share, because that's also a way to grow. It's also like continuous learning. I think as long as we are alive, we need to be learning. If today I think I know everything and there's nothing I need to know about the world, then that's it. That's the end of my education. So, as lifelong learners, and we also need to share what we know and collaborate and get good ideas and good practices, good strategies from others. So I think today, yes, it is important. Some time ago, I would say no, it was not so necessary, but it is
All right.
required.
Yes. Coming up to the last question here. So, having heard the conversation, Aladdin's Chirag has come to us and it is being given to you. And now you are being given three wishes. So, what are your top three wishes?
Top three wishes. My top wish is that, first of all, no child should be without education. Every child has a right to education. And how can we make that accessible? How can we provide that? I know it is up to governments, it is up to countries, it is up to politics and other bodies, but really education is the key that we need, particularly what is happening in today's world, the wars and the killing and the shooting. No, we really need peace loving global citizens. That's what we need, and that comes with education. The second is, what I would like is, I think I would just like to make sure that well-being is equal to the work that we do, because I have seen some people balancing that work life with their personal life has become quite a challenge. And I think we need to decrease that competitiveness in our mind and think that, I need to go above the ladder. I need to, cross her and come to the top. And in that, it's okay to sacrifice my family, or it is okay to sacrifice, my well being. I think that is something that we have to make sure that well being is equally important as whatever our aspirations and our goals and our career growth goals are in our mind. Yeah. It's hard to think of the last one. I mean,
I
it's
want the last one for you, ma'am. What you would want for yourself.
so what I would like is, I would like to be connected with education till the very, very end. I think I've finished 48 years, I would say. In 1.5 years, I'll finish 50 years. I started in 75 in Bombay. So, first of all, I really want to finish at least 50 years. And then my goal is to just continue, even if I'm not working at a school or with an organization. But there are so many ways I can be connected with education, share and learn from others. And I would like to continue doing that.
It said, no, once teacher, teacher for life, and you just fall in love with this profession that you want to continue in whatever capacity you are, So that is
Find
the truth.
the children are very inspiring. I really get inspired with children.
Absolutely. So that this is the beauty of this lovely profession. It not only teaches you, you shape life also, and along with that, you grow also. So this that was certainly, ma'am, a very wonderful conversation that we had today. We learned about the kind of skills that our children needs to have in future, what kind of amendments we can make in curriculum, and how we can ensure that every child is grown to the best of their abilities. So we got learned a lot from you today. Yet there is so much more, but we'll have you again for some short series also, and I'm sure my viewers would love to hear you again. So thank you so much for your time with us and enlightening our minds with wonderful thoughts that you have and sharing the entire journey of yours. Thank you so much. We thoroughly enjoyed, and we are looking forward to many more sessions with you.
Thank you, Seema. It was an absolute pleasure. I was really very happy to be chatting with you, meeting you. I have been reading about your organization on LinkedIn, and pleasure. Thank you.